Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. I'm Jeanette. This is video number 2 in the month of August that's being sponsored by Anderson House Foods. They're the makers of the Frontier soup mixes that I adore so much. I have been using their products for years and years. They're very good quality. I swear by them. And they reached out to me not too long ago to ask if I would do a couple videos for them this month to help celebrate their 40th anniversary. And of course, I'm delighted to do that. So I already released video number 1 a couple weeks ago, and I will put a little card up here for that and a link down below if you'd like to watch that too. But what I'm doing is taking 1 or 2 of their mixes and showing you a couple of different ways to make them completely plant-based. What I'm going to be using today is the Pennsylvania Woodlands Mushroom Barley Soup Mix. Look at how gorgeous that is. So the way they have their mixes set up, there's usually a dehydrated grain in here, and in this case it's barley. Then they have an assortment of beautiful dehydrated vegetables and a lovely mixture of herbs and spices. Now I find that these have a great flavor balance, and I rarely need to adjust anything. In fact, I don't ever think I have adjusted anything, with the exception of maybe adding some salt to taste at the end, because they don't contain any added salt. But keep in mind that these are soup and meal starters, so you can keep it simple and just mix the soup mix with some broth and be done with it and have a really delicious simple soup. Or you can make different substitutions and play around with these to make different dishes. There's a lot of different ideas on their website, and I'm going to go ahead and link that for you in the description box down below. Also, keep in mind their mixes are plant-based, so even if they have names like beef goulash or chicken and rice, there's no animal products in these. You can add meat to them if you want to, but you can also just keep them plant-based. What I'm going to be making with this mix today is the vegan suggestion for the soup on their website, but I'm going to make 1 or 2 changes to that. And I'm also going to use this in a vegan lentil loaf. So here's what I'm going to be using for this recipe, and I am going to run through everything here with you. This is a variation of a lentil loaf that I normally make, except I had to make a few adjustments because I'm using the soup mix as part of the recipe. Now on my website, I have a blog where I've started putting some recipes and different articles that I write. I'm going to go ahead and put that link for you in the description box below, and I'm going to put this recipe on the blog. And I also try to include a Word or PDF document that you can download and print as well. All right, so what I'm going to be using in place of meat is beans and lentils. So what I have is a can of pinto beans that I drained and rinsed, and 1/2 can of brown lentils that I drained and rinsed. Then I ran these through my food processor just to get them kind of ground up and mashed up. But hopefully you can see I still have some texture of the beans in there. I didn't want to turn this into a total mush like hummus. I wanted to leave a little bit of texture, but if you don't want to use your food processor, that's totally fine. You can absolutely mash these up by hand. Here I have 1 cup of oats, and you can use rolled oats or quick oats. And I ran these through my blender. You could also use a food processor to make a coarse flour. What I have here are 2 flax eggs, they're called. So I took 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed and mixed those with 3 tablespoons of water and let it sit until it gelled. Now, I have seen recommendations all the way up to 6 tablespoons of water for 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed, and I generally find that that's a bit too much. But I've also found that I had to experiment with my flax seeds, because sometimes I need to use 4 or 5 tablespoons of water. But I started with 3, and this looks like it turned out pretty good. So I would err on the side of caution and use a little bit less water. You can always increase the water a little bit, but if you do add too much water, it's not a big deal. You can just pour some of the water off. But what you want to do is let your flaxseed and water sit until you get a nice thick gel like this, and this is going to act like your binder. I'm also going to add 3 tablespoons of tomato paste. I'm going to boost the veggie content of this by adding about a cup of finely diced or minced veggies. I ran these through the food processor, but you can also just mince them or dice them by hand. I have a little bit of onion, celery, carrot, bell pepper, and a little bit of frozen spinach that I thawed out and mixed all of those together. So that's going to give it some nice color. And I'm also going to add my soup mix. I have my loaf pan ready to go, and I almost forgot, I'm going to need a 1/4 cup of water or broth. And I always like to add just a dash of vegan Worcestershire sauce because it adds a nice savory flavor to things. And then I have my Bragg's liquid aminos, or you could use some salt if you want to. I have that on hand. to add a little bit of salt if I need to. So let's throw this together. All right, to make my lentil loaf, I'm going to take my dry soup mix and I'm going to blend that together with the tomato paste, the flax eggs, and the little bit of water or vegetable broth. And I'm going to stir that together just to get that dry soup mix a little bit moistened. Then I'm going to add in my veggies, which are also going to bring some moisture to this dry mix. I'm going to blend all of that together, and then I'm going to add in my beans and lentil mixture and mix all of this together. Once this is all blended together, then I'm going to start adding my oat flour a little bit at a time. You might not need to use all of it, I've found, but I just start adding a little bit at a time and mixing it in. So can I just say, I am going to be jacked by the time I'm done with this. It is quite the arm workout. How much of the oat flour you add is totally up to you. I've used about half of it, to be honest, and I'm happy with the way that it turned out because the oat flour will tighten this mixture up quite a bit, and I think that's a good lentil loaf consistency for me. I'm just going to go ahead and put it in the pan, but again, this is up to you. If you want to add more of the oat flour, you can totally do that, but I think we're in a good place here, so I'm going to go ahead and put it in the loaf pan. Then I'm just going to put the mixture into my loaf pan and I'm going to press it down with my spoon and smooth out the top of it with the back of my spoon. I'm going to place it into an oven that I heated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit, and I'm going to cook it for 40 minutes. At the end of cooking, I'm going to take it out and put some ketchup on top, which I like to do because I'm going to cook it a little bit longer after this. So I just top it with as much ketchup as I want, and I take a little silicone brush and kind of dab it all over. And then I pop it back into the oven and cook it for another 15 minutes. All right, we're moving on to the soup, and this honestly couldn't be easier. So I'm going to be using a total of 6 cups of vegetable broth, and the vegan variation suggestion is 1 pound of chopped mushrooms, but my grocery store offers them in 10-ounce packages, so that's what I used. So I chopped those up, and when I was getting ready to make the lentil loaf, I also chopped up way more veggies than I needed. So I've got some of that veggie medley here, which is onion, carrot, bell pepper, celery, and there's some frozen spinach in there. It's about a cup, so I'm going to add that. I'm going to use my soup mix, obviously, and then I'm going to use the other half of the can of lentils that I had used for the lentil loaf. Making this soup is so easy. Now you could absolutely just throw everything into your pot, bring it to a boil, lower it to a simmer, and let it cook and be done with it. When I make soups though, I like to cook in layers. So I will start with, say, my mushrooms. I'll cook those down for a few minutes until they release some of their liquid. Then I'll throw in my veggies and saute those for a few more minutes just to kind of cook off the raw flavor of the veggies. And this kind of deepens the flavors of things as you saute. So once those are done, then I add in my lentils, my broth, my soup mix, and then I'm going to bring this to a boil. Once it comes to a boil, I reduce it to a simmer and let it cook with the lid on for 20 minutes. All right, I hope you guys enjoyed seeing another couple ways to use yet another of the Frontier Soups mixes. Some of you have asked if I find these at my local Wegmans or other grocery stores. Wegmans here locally does carry a couple of them, and I found a handful at another specialty shop, but you're probably going to have your best luck if you just go right to the Anderson House website, so I will link that for you in the description box down below. And of course, a very big thank you to Anderson House Foods, the makers of Frontier Soups, for sponsoring this video, and thanks for considering me for helping you to celebrate your 40th anniversary. This has been a lot of fun, and Anderson House actually sent me a few more soup mixes to try that I haven't tried before, and they're fall themed, so I'm going to release another video this fall featuring some of the new products that they sent me. So thank you again. And as a thank you to my viewers, I can do a giveaway again because Anderson House sent me 3 of the Pennsylvania Woodlands soup mixes to give away to my viewers. And all you need to do is like the video, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and leave a comment. I'm going to let this contest run for 2 weeks to give people a chance to watch the video and leave a comment. And then at the end of 2 weeks, I will randomly select 3 names. Keep an eye on the comments because I will reply to your comment with my business email. Then you can email me with your mailing address and I will send you out your soup. And just like we did in the first giveaway, this will only be applicable to people in the United States simply because I'm sending a food item and I don't know how that would work internationally. All right, that's going to do it for today's video. Thanks very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And I just want to say thank you to everybody who supports the channel. It really means a lot to my dad and I. All right, I'm going to sign off. I'll see you guys in the next video, and I hope that you have a great week.